Okay, having gone through all these actions just now that assist in water transport, we have transpirational pull, we have the capillary action, and also root pressure. Okay, in this video, we will look into a few experiments. Okay, for example, the first one is to look at the effects of root pressure on water transport. So, what are the effects of root pressure towards water transport? And this is our aim, is to investigate the effects. And having said that, we have this proposed hypothesis, which is the root pressure helps in moving the water from the soil, okay, to the shoots. So we are using fresh balsam plant, which is planted in a vase, and we requires also the petroleum jelly and the soil with these apparatus right here. This is a water manometer. So this thing is a water manometer. So let's look at the procedure. It says you have to water the balsam plant, which is in the vase, and you have to keep it overnight. Then only the next morning you cut the stem of the balsam plant 5 cm. Okay, 5 cm from the soil surface. And you are to connect this cut stem to the water manometer using a rubber tube. And to make sure that the connection is neat. And you have to apply some petroleum jelly to the connected parts to ensure that it is well sealed, and to mark the initial water level at the arm of the manometer right here. And you are to leave the apparatus for about 30 minutes. And the technique is for you to observe the water level in the arm of the manometer, okay, whether it is increasing or decreasing. So we have some questions here right under discussion. What is the purpose of watering the soil before the experiment is carried out? Why do you need to water the soil, and somehow you have to keep it overnight? So you can already guess, because this one we want to study the effect of root pressure towards water transport. So that's why we need to water the soil to ensure that the roots can absorb enough water and mineral salts from the soil for the whole night. Okay, so second question is that you need to compare the water potentials that is in the root cells with the water potential which is surrounding the root cells, which means they are to compare with the soil water. Okay, having compared the concentration, you are to determine the water movement, the direction of the water movement between these two compartments, the root cells and also the soil water. So the second answer is that the cell sap concentration is higher in the soil water. Okay, in the soil water has got high cell sap. The cell sap which is in the roots, in the root cells is higher than the one in the soil water. Okay, so to say that the water potential in the root cells is lower than the water potential in the soil water. Okay, maksudnya lebih pekat di dalam root cells. So root cells having lower water potential. So you have answered the second questions. Having compared the compartment, the concentrations, you are to determine the water movement. Okay, based on osmosis law, okay, water is going to diffuse from region of high water potential to low water potential. So in this case, it is going to diffuse from the soil water having higher water potential into the root hair cells with lower water potential, and it is by means of osmosis. Again, do not forget to include this term. And then the fourth question is that you need to answer, why is this root pressure needed in plants? Okay, is it essential? We've discussed about root pressure, this action in our previous video. Okay, so why is it needed? Okay, first, what causes root pressure? Okay, it is because of the difference in the water potential. Since we're talking about osmosis, there are two compartments with difference in the water potential. So this enables the water to diffuse by osmosis from, initially it's from the surrounding soil's water into the root and across the root tissues. So the root tissues consist of the root hair cells, the cortex, the endodermis, pericycle, then subsequently to the xylem vessels of the root. And eventually it's going up to the stem, and to all parts of the plant. And again, it is because water, you're talking about water transport. It's because in the end, this is the ultimate reason, is that water is very essential in plants. And we know that it is very essential in photosynthesis. The light dependent reaction of the photosynthesis requires water to kickstart the process. Next. Alright, so this is actually the water manometer that we mentioned just now. It's an instrument to measure the pressure. So it consists of fluid. You can see this is the U tube. Inside has got fluid. So there are two arms right here. If it is balanced, the pressure is no pressure applied at the moment. So the water level will be level. Leveling to one another. So like in this case, do not forget to observe in the end, the water level, you have to predict whether it's going up or down. So you can already predict if there's pressure coming from the root, it's going to push, the pressure is going along this tube and it's going to result in the water being pushed to the other end of the column. So you expect to see rise in the water level. So right here, you can see if pressure is applied to the left end of the arm, it's going to push the liquid which is within the tube, and there will be increase in the water level at the other end of the column. This is how it works. There's two arms over there. If pressure is applied, liquid is going to rise to different heights in the two arms, and that tells us about the presence of pressure. The next experiment is to study the effect of transpirational pull, which is also very essential. Remember the force, the pulling force on the water transport. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to set this up, this apparatus, where you are to connect this bottle to a side tube like this. And you have to fill this bottle with water and to put a few drops of cooking oil on the surface inside the side tube. So that means this is it, the place where you will be putting oil in it. So carefully put the plant stem with the roots, carefully, because you don't want to destroy so much of the roots, into the hole of the cork. And you are to apply petroleum jelly at the connection of the plant stem. This connection over here, whenever there's connection, you have to apply petroleum jelly so to secure it and to ensure that it is airtight. And you have to cover the mouth of the bottle with this cork. Of course, this one you do it outside. So that means before you put this cork into the bottle, you're supposed to do this step 4. Then only you cover the mouth of the bottle. You get my meaning, yeah? Cover the mouth of the bottle with the cork. And now that the cork is having the roots already, and to make sure that the plant is fully immersed in water. So again, after you have covered it, you have to apply petroleum jelly whenever there's connection just now. First you cover here, you apply petroleum jelly over here right now. After you have covered it with a cork, you have to apply some petroleum jelly right here. with the same purpose to ensure that it is airtight. Okay, it's because we don't want any factors to serve as a distractor for our experiment, the setup. Okay, so we are looking into the transpiration process later on. So you have to mark the initial level of the water, which is at the side tube, this with a marker pen, and to place the apparatus, the entire thing under the sunlight for about 30 minutes. And the technique is that you are to observe the changes of the water level in the side tube. So discussion over here is that justify the need of putting cooking oil on the water surface in the side tube. So why is this oil needed here? So why? Because now the whole thing is now under the sun and we are studying on the transpiration process. What is transpiration? It's the water lost in the form of water vapor evaporation happens, right? So by placing oil right here, you'll be able to prevent to some kind of level over here the loss of water by evaporation from the surface of the water here. You don't want this to happen. So what is the inference that can be made from this experiment? What is the inference that can be made from this experiment is that plants release water vapor through transpiration to the surroundings. So it is releasing water vapor, that's transpiration, right, to the surroundings. Because this shoot it's a leafy shoot, so that means a lot of leaves over here with those stoma. That's the place where water gets released to the surrounding. So inference is that when water is lost over here from through the stoma, okay, what happened is that there's loss of water. So the loss of water has to be substituted, replaced. So what's happened is that the roots down here is going to absorb the water from inside the bottle to replace those that has lost to the surrounding in the form of water vapor. That's the inference. So if the experiment is repeated by reducing the number of leaf lamina, that means we are to reduce the number of leaves. Predict the observation that can be made regarding the water level in the side tube. What will be the observation? Let's say you have set A and set B. Set A has got more leaves. Set B has got lesser. So compare set A and set B in terms of water level in the side tube. Okay, first you have to make it clear. Is it set A having more leaves or set B lesser leaves? Will the rate of transpiration will be greater? Which one has greater rate of transpiration? What do you think? Transpiration, water loss through stoma, isn't it? More leaves, more holes, that means more stomata. So the rate of transpiration will be greater, water loss greater. So this is going to result in the water level in the side tube going down greater or much more as compared to set B, which has lesser leaves. Okay, you understand? You get my meaning? All right, so that's the concept that you need to understand. So it's the hypothesis accepted. So in this case, transpirational pull moves water from roots to leaves. From roots to leaves. That's a pulling force from on top here. Something pulling because of the empty space, water loss, pulling. So there's a pulling there's a force which we call the transpirational pull that is the one that moves the water from beneath, from the roots to the leaves. And surely that is accepted. Okay, there's another activity over here. 4.2 is to produce multicolored flowers. So by applying the concept of water transport in the xylem. So you are going to use the white rose flower. Okay, imagine with the shoot or the stem, and you have to immerse it. Can you imagine that? You're going to immerse it in a colored solution. So that's why you're having fabric dyes of red, yellow, green, and blue. Okay, and in the end, maybe after half an hour, actually you can see the results already. But if you soak it longer, then you get to see effects like this. So which means from the solution, the dye solution just now, this colored solution has already reached the flower. From bottom has already reached the flower. Okay, so what is that telling you? It's telling you that transportation takes place, water transportation takes place. And what's the tissue responsible for that? That's the xylem tissue. So why are white flowers used? This one is common sense logic, because it enables you to see the color changes more easily. Okay, and the third question says, these flowers looks nicer, definitely variety colors as compared to original flowers, which is white. But then these flowers wilt faster. Okay, wilt faster compared to the original flowers if they are left in the vase containing water. The reason is because now you know that these colored solutions consist of dyes, fabric dyes. That means they are chemicals. There are foreign pigments over there. So most foreign pigments, yeah, found in the textile dye, they are toxic. Processed bunny, okay, they are chemicals. They're too large to move along the xylem vessels. Okay, because we know xylem vessels, they are transporting water. So water transport in the xylem tissues become less efficient. Okay, because this one is buatan. Okay, it doesn't now that these foreign materials are present over there, it's gonna somewhat like block the channel, okay, or the tube, and that's why water transport ini disrupted, and therefore it's gonna wilt faster. Okay, let's move into guttation and also transpiration. Okay, guttation, I'm not sure if you have heard of this term before, but there are some point of similarities to transpiration. Okay, of course, you have heard of transpiration. It's a water lost in the form of water vapor for transpiration. Guttation as well is also related to water loss from the plant, but not in the form of water vapor. Instead, it is in the form of water droplets, as you can see right here at the picture. But for transpiration, you can't see that because the water is lost in the form of water vapor. Okay, water vapor dalam bentuk gas which you can't see. So here you can see that all these water droplets. Okay, let's look at the definition. It's a secretion of water droplets through a special structure at the end of the leaf veins. Dia punya hujung leaf veins, as you trace it to the hujung, is this lah. Okay, so it doesn't involve stomata. It involves the special structure in your textbook. It is called special structure, tapi sebenarnya dia ada nama khas, we should call it as the hydrotots. Okay, so guttation is secretion of water droplets through hydrotots ataupun special structure at the end of the leaf veins without involving stomata. And the cause for this guttation is because of the high root pressure. Okay, high root pressure. Masih ingat ada daya tolakkan daripada akar tadi kan? Okay, so guttation occurs when the root pressure is high and the rate of transpiration is low. Okay, bayangkan the rate of transpiration low. We know transpiration, water loss in the form of water vapor. But when water needs to be lost, but then the rate of transpiration is low, okay, because the air humidity is low. Air humidity is low. This one. Sorry. If transpiration, we know that it happens on hot and windy days. Okay, hot and windy days. When the temperature, then the surrounding temperature is high, transpirations punya rate gets higher, isn't it? And also when there's windy days, it's going to blow all this water vapor away and creates empty space on top of the leaves. So transpiration punya rate akan menjadi tinggi. But what if the surrounding temperature is low, and what if the air humidity is high? Meaning a lot of water vapor here at the surrounding, okay, and at the atmosphere, and the temperature is low, which means keadaan itu adalah usually night time ataupun early morning. How? And that water has to be secreted out because the root pressure is great. So what are the outlets of water? So they are left with these outlets, and that is the hydatots. Dan itulah masanya the root pressure is going to push the water to the leaves, okay, to the stems, to the leaves, and eventually it is being thrown away, secreted out of the plants. That's Cartesian. Okay, let's compare the table. Similarities is that dia melibatkan organ daun. The leaf is the one involved. It happens there, the leaf. Okay, and the similarity is they cause permanent loss of water from the plants. Okay, the differences I've mentioned some of it just now. Okay, Cartesia happens nighttime, early morning. Kamu bayangkan keadaan-keadaan ni lembap. That's why we say just now air humidity is high. Keadaan lembap tu tidak panas. That's why the surrounding temperature is low. Okay, but that transpiration adalah opposite when it happens on hot, windy days. Okay, when the air humidity is low for transpiration. Okay, another difference is in terms of this aspect, di mana transpiration happens in all plants. In all plants ada proses penyejatan air dalam bentuk wap air, and that is transpiration. But for guttation only in herbaceous plants and doesn't involve woody plants. Okay, water is secreted ataupun released in the form of water droplets, as you can see right here. But for transpiration, it is in the form of water vapor. Okay, in terms of structure, special structure, and that's the hydatot for guttation, and that's for stomata for transpiration. Okay, guttation happens when root pressure is high, ada daya tolakkan yang akan push the water to the stem and then to the leaves and then to be released out to the surrounding. But here, transpiration is about the tiny pore, which is the stoma. Okay, it's controlled by the stomatal opening and closing. Okay, last but not least is that the types of secretion. For guttation releases water just now, yes, but that water is actually rich in minerals because as the root pressure is pushing the water up against the gravity, okay, it is also pushing along those dissolved mineral salts. Unlike transpiration releases pure water. Okay, so you have to study, you have to go back and you have to process, digest, and to look at the points once again. Okay, to better understand it, differentiate these two. Okay, so conditions of plants that do not undergo this means condition of plants that do not undergo transpiration and guttation. The condition, which means the effects towards the plants. We're talking about the effects. Kesan, if plants do not undergo guttation. Kesan ataupun effects if plants do not undergo transpiration. Okay, so without you see the similarities when you are to describe the effects is that you have to start with without guttation. Without guttation, what happened? Okay, if guttation does not occur, what happened? Dia punya consequences ataupun dia punya kesan. Without transpiration, what happened? Without transpiration. Okay, so here without guttation, root pressure cannot be maintained. Effective root pressure cannot be maintained because we know that root pressure is the one playing role in guttation. So therefore, water absorption by root hairs cells is disrupted. Okay, in surrounding with high relative high humidity. Okay, dalam keadaan high humid, okay, it seems like the root hair is unable to absorb the water well without guttation. So water to imagine it is being accumulated inside the plant. If cannot be released out, now this is what happens lah. Kita cakap effective root pressure cannot be maintained. Okay, so it has to be expelled out. Okay, through the hydatots, the special structure. Then only dia boleh absorb water even in surrounding with high relative humidity. Okay, sebab dia perlu water absorption itu perlu berlaku continuous actually for the sake of the plant survival, the growth, okay, the needs. Okay, without guttation also the plant waste substances cannot be eliminated because it's also pushing along those substances as the root pressure is pushing the water up. If guttation does not happen, the leaf vein becomes the leaf vein pressure high, causes the leaf vein, it might burst, and this may leave the veins to be exposed to pathogen, eventually fall. Okay, what happens if there's no respiration? The optimum temperature of the plants cannot be maintained. Okay, temperature to related with enzymes, because enzymes activities are very sensitive. They need a certain range of temperature, okay, to work, to function, to catalyze the reaction. If it is too high, it can denature the enzymes, and it's going to disrupt those biochemical processes. Okay, biochemical processes yang penting dalam tumbuhan you have to mention is photosynthesis and respiration. So without respiration, also mineral ions such as potassium ions cannot be transported from the roots to the leaves for photosynthesis. Okay, because we know the transpirational pull kan, so it will also pull along these dissolved mineral ions. So without transpirational pull, we can expect also there's no supply of mineral ions to from the roots to the leaves for the sake of photosynthesis. Okay, so without transpiration also water transport throughout the plants will be disrupted, definitely. Okay, tanpa transpirational pull, there's no pulling force. Okay, from the outside of the leaves, what happened is that water transport disrupted and that the plants will wilt. In the long run, the plant can die. Okay, there's this task for you. You have to click to play the video and to watch the video and to come up with some points. This one is individual work for you, and you may also discuss in your groups, but it comes out to be an individual work where you have to note down the important points and build a mind map to be as creative as you are to compare and contrast between these two processes, guttation and also transpiration, and you are to do it at least on an A4 paper. Okay, that's it about it for 4.2.